Can Korea find a path to a 6G technology future? That and more on Korea Technology Weekly. Hi, I'm your host, Dr. J.R. Reagan. In this episode, we'll be discussing South Korea's plan to be at the cutting edge of 6G or beyond 5G technologies. Amid accelerating digitization, the Korean government is attempting to preemptively take a lead on the 6G mobile market by announcing an R&D plan for future mobile telecommunications technology to lead the 6G mobile era. To implement the plan, the Korean government pledges to invest 142 million euro, or 200 billion Korean won, over 5 years from 2021 to secure high-risk basic 6G technology. The Korean government plans to launch a pilot project for 6G mobile services, which are 50 times faster than 5G services, beginning in 2026. It aims to commercialize 6G services between 2028 and 2030. The strategy consists of preemptive development of next-gen technologies, securing standard and high-value-added patents, and laying R&D and industry foundations. The government first will push for 10 strategic tasks in 6 key areas, which are hyper-performance, hyper-bandwidth, hyper-precision, hyperspace, hyperintelligence, and hypertrust to preemptively secure next-generation technologies. It aims to achieve 1 terabyte per second data transmission speed, which is 5 times faster than 5G mobile services, and reduce delay time to 1/10 of 5G services, or 0.1 millisecond for wireless services and 5 milliseconds for shorter wired services. It is also making a goal of making 6G communication services available up to 10 kilometers above the ground. Once these technologies are secured, the government will launch a pilot project to upgrade existing telecom networks to 6G beginning in 2026. The government selected 5 major areas for the pilot project: digital healthcare, which includes remote surgery, biometric encryption through quantum cryptography, immersive content, long-distance, real-time, non-face-to-face hologram meetings, for example, self-driving cars or flying cars, smart cities, including smart transportation without traffic jams, and smart factories, including touch-based real-time precision control. The government plans to roll out additional pilot projects to include some of the use cases expected for 6G, like smart factories, smart cities, and autonomous vehicles. Nevertheless, the program also seeks to go beyond these use cases and create technologies like 6G satellites. At first, these pilot projects will not be focused on consumer applications. According to the strategy, the Korean government will use these experiments to find a business-to-business or B2B revenue model that can sustain 6G networks. South Korea plans to apply 6G in several areas and will experiment with different pilot projects. Patents and standardization are 2 other areas where Korea wants to become a global leader, and the push for that has already begun. On September 24, 2020, Korea's delegation at the International Telecommunication Union, or ITU, which is the UN body responsible, among others, for global communication standards, filed a proposal for ITU members to start developing a 6G vision. This is part of an articulated attempt to put Korea at the center of discussions on the next generation of networks before other well-established countries do the same. According to South Korea's strategy, the effort comes as a preemptive response to global standards battle, and the 2 core actions in this field are applying to 3GPP ITU standards of 6G core technology. Still, the plan also envisions mutual collaboration with other nations regarding research and training specialized workforce. Besides establishing the R&D committee, the strategy also has an eye on network development educational aspects. The idea includes building 4 network research centers by 2022, plus an investment in a platform for knowledge exchange, featuring massive open online courses, or MOOCs, about 6G technology evolution and real-time sharing of best ideas. Another effort planned includes how to combine the private sector and academia. The plan states that universities could support companies' R&D while they act on retraining the workforce. On the other hand, it would become an industry role to support field training of university students and offer student mentoring. South Korea envisions 6G commercialization starting in 2028. The Ministry of Science and ICT, or MSIT, plans for 6G technology to provide 1 terabyte speed for data transmission over 10 kilometers based on low-orbit satellites. This would bring technology evolution such as remote surgery, full-scale autonomous driving, and flying cars, surpassing 5G, and would reduce delay times to 1/10 of 5G services. Some core aspects of this strategy includes to preemptively acquire world-class next-generation telecommunication technology by strengthening technical competitiveness. The government will invest in more challenging and leading projects for development of core technology related to 6G and attempt to overcome technical limitations of 5G. It will also lead international standardization for 6G and secure high-value standards patents. MSIT will work closely with the Korean Intellectual Property Office to secure standards critical to 6G. The government will aim for global standardization of Korean technologies to minimize uncertainty in competition. It also intends to build favorable R&D and industrial environments for localizing core components and equipment for 6G. The government will focus on validation of 6G core technologies and development of core components and equipment so that the nation can locally develop them. The government also plans to nurture experts in 6G by actively enhancing collaboration between companies and universities participating in R&D. As an early project to make headway in 6G technologies, LG Electronics has partnered with a US-based electronics test and measurement equipment provider and KAIST, a state-run elite science and technology university in Korea. Under the agreement, the 3 parties will cooperate on the development of technologies related to terahertz, a key frequency band for 6G communication networks, and a verification system. They will set up a test infrastructure, upgrade measurement equipment, and study the environment of radio waves from this year until 2024. LG Electronics already set up a 6G research center with KAIST in January of 2019. The two also partnered up with Korea Research Institute of Standards and Science to study 6G technologies in August of last year. Samsung Electronics said it expects the commercialization of 6G services to occur around 2030 as it works to develop technologies for the next generation communication system. Samsung estimates the completion of the 6G standard could happen as early as 2028 and mass commercialization of the system 2 years later. Samsung says that while 5G commercialization is still in its initial stage, it's never too early to start preparing for 6G because it typically takes around 10 years from the start of research to commercialization of a new generation communications technology. In order to start 6G services, Samsung said that 3 categories of requirements, performance, architectural, and trustworthiness, should be met. As the world's largest memory chip and smartphone vendor, Samsung said that 6G will need to deliver a peak data rate of 1,000 gigabits per second and air latency less than 100 microseconds, which are 50 times the peak data rate and 1/10 the latency of 5G currently. Resolving issues of limited computational capability of mobile devices, implementation of artificial intelligence or AI solutions were cited as architectural requirements by Samsung. Security and privacy were also issues that need to be addressed for 6G commercialization. Mobile communications infrastructure is a core part of the Digital New Deal, which is one of 2 pillars of the COVID recovery program, Korean New Deal, announced by the Moon Jae-in administration last year. Mobile communications and the technology that underlies it is poised to become even more integrated into our daily lives. And South Korea plans to balance the needs of domestic companies, citizens, and international partners as it moves beyond 5G. It's a 6G future worth waiting on. That's all for this week's show. Follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn at Idea Explorer or my website ideaexplorer.com. Feel free to leave comments or suggestions about the show and tune in next week for more news and trends about Korea technology.